My name is Frank Larson. I was Lindy's honor during his visit to Little Falls after his famous flight to Paris. The Little Falls Daily Transcript made arrangements to have two boys as honor guards for Lindbergh's Minnesota ops. The paper had a popularity contest with coupon cutouts in several days' issues to be used as ballots. First place was honor guard for the Minneapolis-St. Paul stop, and Jetzel got the most votes. I feel that I really got the best of the deal by being in second place and serving at home before all my friends. John and I have been friends all these years, but we have never taught our experiences with Lindy. There was a tremendous crowd in Little Falls the day Lindy came, probably the greatest ever. There was no airport, so a field about 4 miles north of town, on Highway 371, was used as a temporary landing field for the Spirit of St. Louis and several military aircraft. The entire route from the field to the fairgrounds at the south end of town was lined with people. Transportation was an open touring car with 3 of us sitting on the folded car top. Lindy on the left, I was in the middle, and his mother was on the right. What a thrill to ride past and wave at all those people. According to a transcript article the next day, I asked Lindy for some advice, and, to quote the paper, "The bronzed hero of the air, challenged by the insistent tone of the lad, turned to his questioner." End of quote. The advice printed was to finish high school before thinking about flying. I really can't remember much of any conversation with him, but I do remember that his mother and I talked a good bit during the ride to the fairgrounds. I remember only too well being introduced to the crowd at the fairgrounds and being asked to say a few words. I stood at the mic shaking in my boots, and I couldn't get a word out. I was tongue-tied. They finally led me back to my seat. It was very embarrassing. There was a picture taken of me with several prominent Little Falls women and Mrs. Lindbergh, with the Spirit of the Saint in the background. I don't remember whether it was taken before or after the trip to the fairgrounds. I was taken back to the field, where I had a chance to sit in the cockpit of the Spirit of St. Louis, then go on my first airplane ride. It was with the 109th Observation Squadron, and, as I recall, there were 5 planes in formation. All were 2-seated, open-cocked biplanes with helmets, goggles, and seat parachutes as standard equipment. It was fun flying in formation, looking at the other pilots and trying to identify buildings in the town from the air. After a half hour or so, the other planes peeled off and landed. My pilot gave the kid a real thrill with barrel rolls, wing overs, loops, and especially falling leaps. I was one sick boy, barely able to stagger to the car with that darn parachute hitting the backs of my legs. The banquet was about 4 hours later, and I spent most of that time in bed trying to recover from the plane ride. At dinner, my seat was 2 places to the left of Lindy, and I was lucky because they did not ask me to speak, just stand and acknowledge the introduction. It was good that I wasn't hungry, because I had a terrible time trying to cut my half chicken. Either the knife was very dull or the chicken very tough. Some time later, my Aunt Bessie wrote from Minneapolis that the radio announcer covering the banquet made jokes about a 12-year-old boy using knife and fork to eat chicken. It has been over 56 years since that day, and the happenings are firmly entrenched as fond memories.
Although I never saw Lindy in person after that day, I did follow his life with great interest. I believe he was a truly great man. That experience has had little apparent effect on my life other than some personal publicity on the 50th anniversary of his flight in the Akron Beacon Journal paper and the Goodyear Wingfoot Clan, which is a business publication. I did take part of his advice. I finished high school, was graduated in 1933, spent about 8 months in the CCCs. I was at Camp Ripley, just 7 miles or 15 miles away from Little Falls. I attended the University of Minnesota and was graduated in 1939 with a Bachelor of Chemical Engineering degree. In 1940, I married a long-time classmate, Eleanor Krogh, who was the daughter of Reverend J.K. and Ida Krogh, a minister in Little Falls. We were hired by Goodyear Tire in 1940, and I retired after 40 years service in 1980. We have 3 children, boys, and they have provided us with 8 grandchildren. We have lived in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio for almost 43 years now, and we have no plans of moving to a retirement type community. We enjoy our home and the area very, very much. Many of our friends, actually our roots go very deep here, and our children are, while not close, are within reaching distance by car. In spite of the time that we've been out here, we still consider Little Falls as home, and we do get back there on occasion and visit with some of our friends who are still left. I thank you for this opportunity to give you our version of Lindy's Day in Little Falls in 1927. Thank you.